Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Progress. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a while, it's been a minute. Last time we did this, it's been months, but hey, we are back. Welcome to this stream, and today we're talking about a lot of stuff. We're talking about food as medicine, we're talking about best anti-aging foods, those foods that you can keep eating to keep looking younger, or that can help you delay the physiology of aging. And I'll be hosting the amazing Amanda the nutritionist. So she's a pro in this game. So guys, if you're joining us from everywhere, make sure that you like the stream, make sure that you ask your questions in the chat, and make sure that you share this stream so that we can have more people joining in and ask questions. Otherwise, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As always, we've not done this in a while, but hey, we are back. So today, as you already see the title, already see the thumbnail, we're talking about food as medicine and best anti-aging foods. Those foods that contain anti-aging properties and can protect the quality of your life. So research has always shown that dietary habits influence chronic disease risk. While there are other foods that put you at the risk of chronic disease, there are certain foods that have a protective effect. And that's what we're going to be digesting today, me and Amanda. So please stay tuned. So without wasting time, let me bring my guest in. Yes, good evening, Amanda. How are you doing? Talk to the people.
Good evening, first of all. I'm excited to be back on Geros Fitness YouTube channel. I've literally told the whole world, that I'm going to be here. It's always exciting to, just discuss with you and share the passion and enthusiasm for health and wellness.
Oh, thanks so much. This is my second time hosting her on my channel. If you didn't check the last stream that we had, you can go through my other videos. You'll be able to check out that stream because it was an amazing stream as well. So before we go far, who is Amanda and how come that she's the guest we are hosting today to talk about this topic?
Well, I guess Amanda is a Ugandan, very proud one. And to be specific, I'm Ochiga, although many people doubt that. But I am, I guess, a young professional who's very excited about, just living the best quality of life possible, enhancing our productivity. We don't have much time on this earth, so if we can make the most out of it and, be pain-free, look good, feel good, then, that's the purpose.
Oh, perfect. So before we go to the topic, Amanda, I want people to understand a difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian, because I've seen most people ask me, what's always the difference? We have these people who take themselves as nutritionists and other people who say we are registered dietitians and nutritionists. So where do the two meet? Is there a meeting point or they are completely different?
They are very similar because really they, tackle how food affects our bodies and how we also handle food as people. But where the difference comes in is probably the types of courses, because you'll find a course that just says maybe the science of human nutrition without the dietetics part. And for example, the one I did that is, Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition and Dietetics. So it's a bit of a mix-up when it comes to the titles of the courses, but also when we look at dietitians, they are more all-rounded, they are more professionalized because they go through very rigorous training to become dietitians. Actually, to be honest, so many of the dietitians that we have available have studied, abroad in the Western world, because you have to go through, some like more rigorous internships than we have done down here in Uganda. And then there are also entry exams. You have to actually get a license, and yet for nutritionists, it's more, you can be self-taught and even become a nutritionist. So it's perfect. For nutritionists, yeah. Unless you want to back it up with, qualifications, then definitely go to school.
Yeah, I think that's really important. So guys, dietitians actually go to school for 4 years. That's what I know. You go to the university for 4 years, study the course, graduate, do internship and you have a professional license, you have a body that is actually governing you. While nutritionists like me, we are just self-taught. I mean, someone can create a course out there that you can go learn and then become good in this game, but does not mean that you're actually a dietitian. So you'll find dietitians much more in a hospital setting, helping out patients. You can have renal dietitians, you can have diabetic dietitians, you can have, I think there's so many subsections in there. But going into that topic straight, let's first talk food as medicine. How does food nourish our body and protect our bodies, Amanda?
I mean, everything that moves, that works needs fuel, and for our bodies, that is food. If you do not have food, then you don't have the fuel that you require to say have the energy to do whatever work you need to do. Fight disease in case it affects you or hits you. You're not able to be as productive as you need to be. So food is basically, in simple terms, the fuel that drives us, and that's why it's so important for us to put it into perspective when we are looking at health, anti-aging, and everything else when it comes to productivity.
Oh, oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So, do all foods are all foods do that? Can all foods do that, or there are certain foods that have a strong effect when it comes to working as medicine?
When it comes to the different nutrients, specific purpose in our body. So not all foods are going to give you energy. Not all foods are going to, some are more suited to, protect you from disease. Some are more suited to make your body thrive, say, have better hair, have better nails, some are more suited for repair and, healing in our body systems. So it depends on what particular food group you are using and, how you are actually using it, how much you are taking in.
So let's talk about those foods. How does protein come in to give you a protective effect? How about fats? How about carbs? How you can just give us some examples and how they actually come in to help us protect our bodies.
Anti-aging, huh? So for starters, let me just say, the anti-aging, realm really hit hard for me once I clocked 30. That's when it really got real. Like, okay, this is serious, and you need to do your best. Eat right, take care of yourself, so you don't, should I call it wear and tear as quickly? Because for those that may not know, when it comes to aging, it's a natural process, and all of us will have to go through or slowing down this process so that you can still be as vibrant as possible. You can still be as energetic as possible. You can still be as productive as possible. Maybe before we go into those particular food groups that actually would support anti-aging,
Oh, guys, it seems her network is not yet clear. She's struggling a little bit with the internet, but yeah, Brenda, you already know internet down here. Sometimes it's a mess, but she's trying to fix back her internet, and she'll be back in a flash. So Brenda, what's up? How you doing? How is the US? Is everything right? Here it's around 5 p.m. It's coming to 5 p.m. I don't know how about that side, it's perhaps morning hours. But if you have any questions regarding this topic, feel free to put it down and I'll put it straight to her. Otherwise, how has it been? How is white tea taking you? I see she's back. Let me see if our internet is now okay. Yeah, your
so
internet
sorry.
missed a little bit, so you can start where you had stopped.
Okay. So I was saying, let me just go into a few basic principles for, anti-aging and aging. So, it helps bring more light and more perspective onto what we need to be eating in that direction. So firstly, when it comes to aging, the more you expose yourself to toxins, to chemicals, to artificial contaminants, then you are more likely to age quicker. That's why, unfortunately, this may be an unpopular thing to say or to talk about, but if you notice people that use probably too much, like makeup on and maybe bleaching, cosmetics, you'll find that their skins or their faces actually age quicker because of all the exposure that they have to these chemicals. So if you want to, really strive for anti-aging and to age like fine wine, like we like to say, then you really need to be considering you having as little as possible exposure to toxins. So we're talking chemicals, even in our food, we're talking pesticides. And that's why you hear organic foods are becoming so, sought after these days, because people have realized the health benefit that they come with, that, there is not much there's not much artificial chemicals that will come and probably bring on a risk for you to either get disease, chronic diseases, or just encourage wear and tear in our bodies or injury and damage in our bodies. So that's one of the principles that I think is really important, and we probably are not taking it as seriously. That reduce the amount of toxins that are around you. When it comes to people burning rubbish, that smoke that's coming from there could be toxic as well. When it comes to cooking, people will probably, for example, use when they are steaming or boiling rice. When they, at the end, when the rice is about to get ready, everyone wants to have that dry rice with almost no, moisture in it. So you find some people put Kavera or polythene on top of that rice to, absorb that water. And yet you are actually letting these plastic compounds leak into your food, and that could be a source of toxin as well. So if we can reduce the amount of toxin that we actually expose ourselves to in every aspect. Toxin can also be in terms of stress, who's stressing you out, and making your stress hormone really go up there. So when we're looking at anti-aging, we really need to reduce exposure to toxin as much as possible. Jero, can I continue?
Yes, I'm hearing you continue. It's just your show.
It's just what?
It's your show.
Okay, and then of course, as we grow older, we use our bodies. Even if you're the lazy type and you don't work out, there's going to be wear and tear. There's going to be injury at some point. There's going to be damage. There's going to be overuse of some of these parts. And because of that, you find that you are aging as well. So if you are not taking care of yourself, this is where self-love comes in. This is where self-care comes in. And even in the food realm, you can still have self-love for yourself by, probably having foods that are going to heal the inside of your gut, for example, because our stomach lining does a lot of work from the time we are born. Actually, even before we are born, it's, out there. So if we can be able to just protect it and help it recover and help it heal when it has, these minor damages before they accumulate or, culminate into something more serious and more dangerous, that really helps with anti-aging. So, we're looking out for what is going to help us regenerate cells. We are looking out for example, collagen has is a very big contributing factor for this. Vitamin C is also very important for that. So for those of you that are doing your oranges and your lemons and your fruits, you're really helping as well with anti-aging. You're looking out for foods that are going to promote repair, like we said, and replacement of old cells, for example. So we should also be considering wear and tear, that as we grow, yes, we are using these parts, but they also need to be kukanikad, like we say in Luganda. That just means you need to be a mechanic for them and, just repair these parts. So that's another very important aspect. But another aspect that definitely leads to aging is deficiency of nutrients. Sometimes it's not that we are not going for the massages and, showing ourselves self-love. We are not we're not drinking enough water, but maybe you are drinking water and yet your muscles actually need magnesium to be able to relax as well, because they're working all the time. And so you're not eating enough nuts, you're not eating enough dark leafy green vegetables, and you find that the deficiency of nutrients that are actually very important for, smooth running of our bodies. Like we said, food is fuel. So if you have a deficiency, or if you are probably eating too much of one particular food and excluding another, that means you don't have a balanced diet at that point. That deficiency can also bring, aging, not anti-aging. So being able to actually benefit from a versatile diet with vast foods in it would really be helpful as well when it comes to anti-aging. Here's the last principle I think is important.
Okay.
The last one that I think is important is we often think that physical activity is only really about the outside. So like you can see Geros Fitness, this channel, it goes ham, it goes hard on, workouts and doing this and burpees and all that. But as much as we are, on the outside physically active, even on the inside, things need to be moving if we're going to be looking at anti-aging. So even in our digestive gut, we need to see that, food is actually moving. It's not stuck up. It's not held up. It's not leaking, because there is a leaky gut syndrome that would actually cause aging on a really fast pace. So you have a gut that is actually functional. Even in your bloodstream, nutrients are actually being transported to where they need to go to, do the job they need to do, so that you don't have that deficiency of nutrients that we talked about that would still bring on aging. So as much as we keep things moving on the outside, even on the inside, we need to be really looking into, for example, fiber foods that are going to be letting, food move through our gut more swiftly, so that we feed the healthy gut bacteria, for example, but also, things that are unnecessary can actually be excreted through our bodies.
Oh, thanks for that.
Yeah, so those are the few principles I thought, we had to talk about.
So let's look at animal and plant. Which one has more strength when it comes to, anti-aging properties and, acting as medicine?
Let's look at
animal and plant.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Versus animals. Did you get that, Amanda?
Hello?
I'm saying
No, I didn't.
Let's look at animal and plant foods, animal products and plant products. Which one is superior to the other when it comes to anti-aging properties and food acting as medicine? Should people concentrate much more on plant-based foods or animal-based?
Now that's also a very confusing part for most people, because we have touted plant-based diets as the best thing possible, and they're not wrong, because there's a lot to benefit from green diets. But on the other hand, animals, for example, have some of the best sources of zinc, which is such a great immune booster and therefore antioxidant for us. If you're looking at good quality protein, animals have some of the best sources. Some examples of the very many probiotic foods, which actually help us to, just generate more healthy stomach bacteria or gut bacteria, come from dairy products, for example, which is an animal-based food. So I think we shouldn't be despising the animal side as well. We should just be keeping a balance, have more of the plant-based, but don't forget to have the animal-based foods as well. Unless you're vegetarian or a strict vegan, then that's understandable. That means you need to have a specialized diet made for you, so that you're actually able to keep a balance of the nutrients you need.
Oh, that's interesting. And again, um, and oh my God, what did I do? Can you still hear me?
Definitely, I can hear you.
Okay, let me come for a second. So, I was saying, most people have taken plant-based diet as serious. They think everything's about plant-based. So many people coming out and criticizing, animal-based diet, and yet we see in some nutrients, some compounds, animal products are actually superior compared to, plant-based. Let's just talk about protein. In any measure, you find that animal protein is superior to plant-based protein. For example, if you get, let's assume 1 cup of milk, the amount of protein that is in 1 cup of milk, if you to eat the same amount from beans, I don't know how many grams that you have to eat to get the same amount of, protein. The same applies to meat and fish and everything. And like she
Mm.
says, protein is very integral when it comes to, aging and all that, because protein is what builds our muscles. It's basically our body composition. So if you're not consuming
It is
enough
the
protein,
repair, it's the mechanic of the body. It repairs.
abs-
So if you don't have something to repair, then you'll definitely not age right.
absolutely. So people who are plant-based, I understand, but then you have to understand that animal products and animal food has a place in your diet because it's very rich in protein, certain compounds. Let's talk about some most of the vitamins, like vitamin B. I've seen plant-based people actually deficient in certain vitamins, especially vitamin
Yes.
D. Someone comes in the hospital and
Iron,
vitamin
folate.
B, you know. So everything, I think it's just a matter of striking the balance between the two, isn't it so?
Exactly. Yes, that's very true. And you'd be even shocked, or the audience would be even shocked that as much as they tout, the plant-based side so much, even the plant-based end has its own disadvantages. For example, there are a lot more anti-nutrients in plant-based diets. For example, chemicals like phytates, that actually inhibit absorption of so many other very important minerals in our and vitamins in our bodies. So that's why it's really, really important to keep that balance. If you have to go on a vegetarian diet, then you really need to have a guided one.
Absolutely right. And you talked about phytic acid, and we know how phytic acid is very important. Is actually a strong acid when it comes to absorption of certain nutrients in our gut. It affects the biological value of certain, plant-based protein, and that's why you're going to eat, let's say, one gram, 500 grams of beans, but what's the biological value of beans compared to, let's say, meat? You understand? So that's and also a certain compounds, for example, mercury, because plants, they are from the ground and everything. So as they grow, they have to absorb certain compounds in the
Yeah,
environment, such as mercury, such as lead, and some of these
exactly.
products actually they are not, the best for our bodies. So she's right. So if you're to
Well,
go plant
exactly,
based,
exactly.
you have to make sure that you're guided right. And I've seen most plant-based people taking certain supplements like vitamin D, the only vitamin B12, to make sure that they don't create an imbalance in certain, minerals and vitamins
Yeah.
and hormones like that.
Yeah, yeah. They actually are, even for the vegetarian world or the vegan world, they're actually plant-based, probiotics, for example, prebiotics. So that's why it's important. I usually tell the people that, care to listen or care about their wellness, that wellness is actually an adventure because you have to be able to be willing to discover yourself. And a part of that is discovering what resources you have around you. So it's important to go to different places, see different cultures that are around you. What can you benefit out of their food lifestyle? What's in the supermarkets that you have around you, so that you don't have such a restrictive diet that at the end of the day is not working in your favor when it comes to health.
Oh, that's very important. So Amanda, someone who's watching us right now, or they'll watch this stream later, what are those
Mm.
exact foods? Because some people, we are from different countries, different continents. So if this is a Ugandan watching, which are those foods that would strongly, emphasize for people to eat if they want to really age like fine wine? and keep their skins shining so that they are not like 50 and then they look like they're 80.
Allow me to finish my laughter first. But anyway, some of the foods, maybe I'll just put them in, categories so people can better, connect with that. Firstly, it's, hydrating. Hydrating is the single most important thing for us. And when people say, water is life, they are really not, joking about that, because I mean, water is the medium for which even this fuel that we're talking about, the nutrients, will be able to move. So if you do not have that, if you're not hydrating, then you are definitely going to age much, much quicker. I know it's hard for some people out there, actually many people, even in adult age, to actually drink water. But like we said, if you really want something so bad, then you have to make an effort for it. And as long as it's a gradual process, that's what matters. So even for someone who was probably not taking any water through their day, even just having, say, 250 mils added of water to your day as a new lifestyle change will actually show in your body. Your body will actually appreciate that, and you can keep increasing from there until you're able to get to a good point, 2 liters, 2.5, 3. But even if you're doing, like, starting with small baby steps, don't discredit yourself for that. So hydrating is important. That means we cannot escape water. I know people say, no, I drink tea, I drink, my coffee, I drink my soda, I drink my juice. But at that point, for example, tea can be dehydrating. So that means you're also, doing yourself a disservice, that, the water that you've taken will actually just go right through your system and you won't have used it much. If you're taking sodas, we all know there's lots of, they are carbonated and, processed. And so there's not much water also you're going to get from there. Even with your juices are important because they give you an opportunity to have, a lot more vitamin from the fruits and vegetables that you'll be using for this juicing. But that also means that you're reducing the amount of, water, plain water, that you're actually taking through your day. So on top of your juicing, on top of your coffee, we need to add plain water as well. Small, simple, baby steps would really go a long way. Similar to that is moisturizing foods. Water definitely is the moisture itself. We need some foods that are going to help us seal this moisture so that it doesn't, water easily evaporates, so you can easily lose it. And that's why it's important, say, especially for topical application, that you have, foods that actually help us to seal this moisture. Some of those include, the butters that we have around us, and we always have different varieties. There are healthier forms, and then there are more unhealthy forms. So looking at maybe oils like olive oil, you're looking at avocado oil, using it on your skin instead of having to have, probably lots of layers of makeup, or, you're using these processed lotions, and yet you can just have shea butter. I have a huge tin like this that takes me like 6 months and I'm good because, it's helping me to seal in that moisture. So if we have, foods that help us to seal in moisture, that really helps with anti-aging, especially for, topical application. Collagen is also a very important one, because it's such a strong factor for, muscles, for skin, like for all the cells in particular. When it comes to regeneration, collagen is such a power nutrient, and so we really need to be having, it in more quantities. Unfortunately, the older we grow, then the less collagen your body is able to produce. But if you have also enough protein to support, the formation of this collagen. You have vitamin C that also is really helpful for, the formation of this collagen. Then you're helping yourself when it comes to anti-aging. We have foods that are very important for blood circulation as well. Because if blood is, like we said, if blood is not moving these nutrients to where they need to be, then you might as well not eat at all, because there's no work being done. So if we're looking at foods that would help us move these nutrients all around our body, that would really be helpful. Some of them include those that have nitric oxide or nitrates in them, like beetroots, like lentils, and even some other pulses. When we talk about pulses, we're looking at legumes, like beans, peas. They have a bit of that. So it's quite important to have foods that really, really help with, moving blood around our systems. Something like rosemary also is such a special herb because it also really works for, moving blood around our body system. So in terms of blood circulation, you would be a tick. We also have foods that have glutamine, still for blood circulation. This also would come from beetroots and also some, dark leafy green vegetables. So it's pretty important for us to have foods that help us, circulate blood around our bodies. Then definitely would need to have antioxidant foods as well. We cannot talk anti-aging. We cannot talk new energy, new life in us without antioxidants. So we need to have these. These are so abundant in the plant-based world, and I don't blame people for praising and giving all the glory to the plant-based world. But we should remember, we should always have that balance, especially if you have the opportunity to be able to eat from both worlds, then, make the most out of it. But in terms of the antioxidants, like we said, you'd get a lot of them from the plant-based world. So we're looking at especially the very bright colored vegetables, beetroot will come up here again. You'll have yellow bell pepper, you'll have green pepper, you'll have chilies. These have a lot of vitamin C, they have vitamin E, they have carotene. So look out for, the really, really bright colored foods. If your plate is not smiling with color, then you are defaulting somewhere. For your body, you are defaulting somewhere. So we should, strive to have at least, 3 to 5 different colors in our day, like bright colors in our day. There, you're really doing great when it comes to antioxidants. We also have some foods that may not be, direct antioxidants, but we'll just generally term them as, polyphenols. And these still also help with our, oxidative stress, for example. They help us to bring that on the low so that, you're not aging quickly because your cells are also wearing out and dying out quicker and being exposed to the toxins we talked about. So, things like lycopene, things like tannins, these are in tomatoes, in teas. That's why herbal teas are really important for us. So if you can have your go at ginger tea, please have that. Lemon tea, please have that. I, in particular, like mint tea. I think it just gives me that freshness at whatever time of day. So, just play around with different herbal teas as well to benefit the most out of that. Another very important one is fiber foods. Fiber foods, for the layman, when you open, say, an avocado, or when you are eating them, you can feel those thread-like substances in these vegetables and foods. That's actually fiber, a form of fiber. And fiber is so important because it helps our system keep moving. So things are not stuck up here where there's excess, for example, cholesterol, it's being swept away, where there's, a huge bulk of waste stuck up somewhere. This is the fiber that's actually going to help it, come out. So you're able to excrete these things that could otherwise be harmful for our bodies if they stay in there for too long. So fiber is also a very important one. Fiber actually also provides food for healthy bacteria. So in our bodies, we are the living organism, but we have so many other smaller living organisms inside there. So if you have, something that is able to provide food for these other living organisms, the healthy gut bacteria especially, then you'll find that even your gut is, the gut lining is constantly healing itself, it's constantly working. And we all have had, at least at some point in time, that all illness really starts from our stomachs. So if you have a healthy stomach, then you're going to have a better chance at pain-free life, at more productive life, at staying away from disease.
Yeah, so before we continue further, there's some questions in the chat, and one of them is Brenda. Brenda, she's Chiga like you, and she's based in the US.
Agandi
So
Brenda.
she's asking, what are those foods with collagen components? And she's also asking, are those foods that you've talked about be eaten raw? Is that an added advantage if I eat them raw versus if I either drink them or cook them? So that's a question that we need to answer. Then about hydration, you talked about hydration, but someone asking out there, how much should they hydrate? How much water should they, drink every day? Per week. So those are three questions that you perhaps need to, answer.
Okay, for water, looking at plain water, we really love for our I was about to say our clients. I'm so used to, dealing with clients, but yeah, for water, we really need to be striving more to, like 3 liters. But like we said, it's not easy for everyone. And if we're going to make health and good nutrition practical, then we need to take baby steps. That way, the habits will actually stick and become a lifestyle that we find is easy to keep up with. So you don't have to go all the way to 3 liters from having 0 liters of water in a day. You start with your 250 mils and then head on to 500 mils and then head on to maybe 750. Just have a gradual increase of this water. If anything, we can also get water intoxicated, so that needs to be also in check. So you don't want to be drinking 10 liters of water a day because that also has its own effects to us. So I hope that answers that. And then you're talking about having raw foods versus the cooked foods. If we can have an intermediate, because the thing with raw foods as well is there's a risk for contamination, or there's actually some of these foods that have, for example, lectins and then also phytates. And so being able to at least cook them to some level helps to let these, to reduce the amount of these particular chemicals that actually affect absorption in our body systems. So that is why we have to have a balance of intermediate. Yes, you can have raw foods, but at least blanch them. When we say blanch them, we're talking about, just have some warm water, and then, for example, if it is tomatoes you're dealing with, maybe you want to make a tomato and green pepper salad. It would be important to just put these vegetables first in that warm water for say 3 minutes, so that you're also reducing that phytate content, but also the risk of harmful bacteria that could be lingering on these particular vegetables. And that's why yes, you could go raw, but still you need a component of it has been cleaned up, and that's where some degree of cooking, some degree of blanching comes into play here.
Oh, interesting. Hope, Brenda, you have your question answered. So the next question would be, do anti-aging supplements have a place in all this? Because I know there are so many anti-aging supplements on market. People are going to, advertise. There's a lot of advertising going on about anti-aging. So do these supplements have a place in all this? And are there examples that people can quickly grab from supermarkets or any of the raw caps and take them?
Well, to be honest, we talked about anti-aging also requiring us to have as little exposure to toxin as possible. And these supplements are also made by other human beings. So first of all, there could be a risk of that contamination. Secondly, sometimes these companies that manufacture these things tell you different things on these food labels or supplement labels, and yet what's really embedded in these supplements is a whole different story. So especially if it's not from like a well-known or authentic space, then you might be actually doing yourself a disservice. However, we always advocate that you start first with, actual food, so whole foods. That should be the basis of your diet. So you don't want to be replacing, say, your breakfast with just having one tablet and then water and then you're headed out, because there's much more to benefit from, these whole foods. First of all, whole foods don't just give you one nutrient. They'll give you like so many things. You'll have probably an orange fleshed sweet potato that's going to give you vitamin A, that's going to give you a carbohydrate, that's going to give you fiber, that's going to give you some vitamin E and vitamin C. So you see so many things that you are actually able to get from these whole foods that have less exposure to toxin. That is why our diets should be based on, actual natural whole foods, organic foods, as much as we can. But there are some definitely conditions that may require us to also, top up with supplements, because, for example, the older we grow, our systems work a lot less effectively. And say for people that are a senile age or, senior citizens, they might need a little extra help because they're not able to probably absorb this particular food really well, or they are irritated by it. And so, there you might need to get a supplement to help you better absorb the nutrients that you actually need, because sometimes in these most times in these supplements, the forms that they put these nutrients in is a very easily absorbable form. And so that's where they come in handy. Maybe also for a person that is not feeding well because of an underlying health condition. You might have particular diseases that you have and are treating, and you need to be able to have as much of a particular nutrient, So your intake of, say, vitamin D should be really high, and yet your condition is not helping you have that. So this is where supplement would also come into play to help you, just increase your intake and, just make sure that your health is also still top notch.
Oh, that's good. Tishke, welcome to the stream. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat down below. So, by the way, if you need to check out Amanda, she hasn't talked about, but she has a YouTube channel. So whatever we're talking about here, if you want more of that, it's available on her YouTube channel, and she'll put everything, or she'll give it to you at the end, and I'll put all the links in the description below so that you can go and check out all her content. She has amazing content about health, wellness, and nutritional stuff. So Amanda, again, someone who's already, let's say, 50, and maybe they've been crap their diet for so many years. Whatever we've discussed about, can it help reverse a little bit the aging process? The fact that maybe they have aged a little bit quicker. Yes, they are 50, but they already look like they are 70. They don't feel okay. If they worked on their diet right now, would they have like a little bit of a reversal, or it's it for them? So when is the right time for someone to restart eating for anti-aging? Is there a specific age for that? Should you wait to first reach 40 and then start eating right? Should you start when you're 10, when you're 5? Maybe you can help iron out that.
Okay, I think I remember the last question first. So let me discuss that. To be honest, there is a standard set age, by these health standards. They say 30 is actually the age when you really need to start considering, aging and, your way to anti-aging. Because a lot changes at that point with, our hormonal balances. And so all the processes, all the functions in our bodies, may start to lack a bit, and keeps, going like that the older you get. So that's when they say, it really needs to hit home that, I need to start being more serious about anti-aging. But in the ideal world, it should even start with our children. We should be teaching them about, eating right, eating for a better body, eating for your best productive self. Even as, young as maybe they are 3 years old, they can understand. And even when they are younger than that, you need to be, playing your role to introduce them to these foods, because sometimes they don't get into this particular lifestyle when they're older, because they're just seeing alien foods at a very late stage in their lives, and so it's very hard for them to actually eat much more healthy. They were so used to maybe quick foods to prepare, and most of these are going to be processed foods. So I think once you even start weaning these kids off, start introducing maybe a carrot puree to them, you introduce a pumpkin soup to them, so that when they're older, it's not a very difficult exam for them. They're like, okay, what is this? I only know about noodles, I only know about spaghetti and Viennas and sausages, frankfurters. So what is all this weird stuff they're putting in front of me? So I think it's also upon us, the parents, relatives, caretakers, schools as well. Even the government should be, trying to formulate messages like this when it comes to health, so that, people can actually start to adapt this lifestyle. And we'll find that it's not only individual health statuses that are changing, but even the general, health status of the nations will actually, really improve and be enhanced. So they say 30, for anti-aging, but really we should be starting at a very, very early age. As soon as we can start eating food, we need to be teaching those young kids when to do that. I forgot
Wow,
the
thanks.
second question. What was the
I
second
think
question?
it was actually embedded in what you've answered, so you've actually
Okay.
answered it all.
Okay.
So again, food.
Maybe
Yes.
maybe I could give you like a sample diet picture of what an anti-aging diet would be, because we talked about the categories, but what are these foods in the layman's language?
That's where we
So
are
these.
going.
Oh, okay. Let me let you lead.
Yes, absolutely. And that was my next question. The recipes and simple diet chart, maybe.
Okay. So some of these really important foods for anti-aging, which will contain the antioxidants, the polyphenols, moisturizing foods, healthy oils we talked about, especially nuts and seeds. And I think people have neglected nuts and seeds so much that our bodies are failing us, because we are failing to reap so much of the benefits that these provide. Nuts and seeds have such a high content of different minerals and vitamins, and that's so important, because these are what form the basis for the antioxidants, work like supportive to these antioxidants we're talking about. So having nuts and seeds is very, very important. Earlier on, actually, Geros, alluded to proteins. Proteins are also really important, because they are the mechanic of the body. Like we said, they're going to help you just put together what is, starting to fail, what is starting to break down, or, just generate new structures if there needs to be generated. So proteins are also very important, but we should also, as we look at the proteins, we should, try to also weigh in and see, yes, I'm using these animal proteins, for example, beef, but there is also the saturated fat that comes with them. So I should have it moderately, and then still have other protein foods, beans, peas, peanuts, on the other days. So yeah, proteins are pretty important. We talked about the colorful vegetables and fruits. So your diet should be a rainbow. If your diet is specifically made of green because they told you green juices are the it thing, then you are defaulting elsewhere. So you need to make sure that you're having so many other colors. You need to have that maroon from liver. You need to have that, is it brown from nuts? You need to have that orange from pumpkin. You need to have black from black rice. You need to have brown from, millet. You really need to have a vast array of colors, because these colors also depict pigments that are very useful for health and anti-aging as well. Sugar, we have to take a break on that. When I clocked 30, I told myself no sugar in your tea. Actually, no sweetener. So I do my herbal teas plain and simple the way they are. And it's very rewarding because you see how you have more energy. Your body is not strained. It's not overloaded, with so much sugar to process. So it's important that we, stay away from sugar, especially as we get older. Even for the young kids, like we said, it should be training from, an early age. Whole grains is so important. Whole grains is so important because of the fiber that they have. And also, unfortunately, for those that were trying to avoid them, just right under the fiber, you will find the vitamins, B vitamins especially. So we need to have whole grains so you can benefit the most from all these very helpful nutrients for anti-aging. So we're looking at, and I know people talk about wheat and say, wheat is such a bad idea, and gluten and all this and that, but there's whole wheat as well, so you can, instead of having this yellow chapati you want to have, you can have the chapati that looks a little more like, millet flour color because you're having whole wheat being used in your, chapati. You could have instead of dull brown bread, because they've actually used whole wheat to make that bread. And for those that are really against the wheat, there are so many other things these days that are being used to, manufacture healthier food products. For example, people have gone away from just using wheat to make bread. They are now using pumpkin flour. Others are using sweet potato flour to make bread, to make cake, and that would be a much healthier option with so much more for you to benefit from. So whole grains are so important. If you can get, the whole wheat, if you can get wheat bran as well. Everyone thinks wheat bran is food for chicken. It's chicken feed. It's so degrading. It's for, someone that is really poor and impoverished, but that's not the case at all. As much as it is cheap, I mean, you go to a supermarket and find wheat bran at about Ugandan shillings 1,800, and you're like, what? A full 500-gram pack at 1,800, not knowing that what that 1,800 is actually offering you is a whole 2 more years maybe of better skin, better stomachs, better digestion as well. So whole grains, also whole foods, meaning eat your food as much as possible in its whole nature, because then you benefit so much from it not being ripped of its nutrients. When you start to process foods, usually to attain a white color or a pleasant smell or a better texture, then they start to rip off the natural nutrients that are embedded in these foods when you just pick them from the ground, or how they have been reared in the case of animals. And then you start to have these foods being deficient in what they originally were supposed to provide you with. So having foods whole is also a very important principle for anti-aging. Another one that I found quite interesting for Uganda especially is sprouting. Sprouting is when you have legumes or pulses. Legumes or pulses is the beans, peas, mung beans, lentils. So you have those, and then people tend, when they start to germinate, there are those little outgrowths that they have, like little white sticks that come out of them as they start to germinate. So at that stage, they are sprouting, and that is when they offer you the highest levels of whatever nutrients that say peas is supposed to provide you with. So that is when it's at its highest potential as a food for you. And that's when we should be having these, because then you'll have an excess or a higher intake of the antioxidants we talked about, the fiber we talked about. And I was told recently, actually, on the Facebook page that I do have, nutrition wellness, page, someone was saying, I was telling them, yeah, we should actually be sprouting these things more. I don't see a lot of that in Uganda, yet we are blessed with a vast array of pulses. And someone was actually saying, hey, we're supposed to eat them in that state. Me, I always first remove those outgrowths. And when I go to the market, I also find the market women first removing those outgrowths and then, selling to you the plain nice ball. And yet, again, you are removing what is really important for health. So sprouting is a very important aspect as well for anti-aging, because of the fiber it's going to provide you. It's one of the ways to make sure you have a very healthy gut lining, gut system. Actually, if you have leaky gut syndrome, diabetes, where you are trying to manage sugar and control sugar, that fiber from those sprouts is excellent for you. That's
Oh,
about it.
that sums up everything. So one question I wanted to ask is about protein. You full well know that in our environment, I don't know if this is global, we always eat in a protein deficiency. Most of us do not meet our recommended dietary allowance of protein according to the guidelines. And some people will end up, rushing for supplements very fast. So I have this guy right here. I don't know if you're able to see this.
Whey, I can see it. Whey.
Yes. So,
Mm.
so
Isolate whey.
yeah, this is isolate. So most people are taking these things is whey a healthy protein supplement. Because some people actually, most people come to my house and find this bottle of whey, they say, man, you're training, but you're not natural because you're using this supplement. And yet, as far as I know, this is one of the elements in milk, because I know milk has two elements, has casein and then the whey protein. Only that in Uganda we are unable to preserve the whey very well, and then we end up
Yeah,
consuming skimmed milk, which is basically
that's
casein
true.
protein.
Mm.
So how healthy is whey? I wanted to alleviate fears for most people fearing to take whey, thinking that actually it's a bulking supplement, thinking that
Yeah.
who go to the gym are the only people who are supposed to take whey, and yet it should be a supplement maybe for everyone else there. Maybe I want a view on that from you.
Okay. So when it comes to whey, especially if you get isolate whey, that is the most absorbable form of this particular protein. That's really healthy for our bodies. But the thing is, we have different physical activity levels. So you might find, I mean, Gero he goes hard in the gym. So, he's working out, he's doing all this, and he might have a higher requirement for protein. And because his muscles need to actually, recuperate, they need to actually bulk up, then he's going to need to have higher amounts of whey. But whey protein is also very essential for the normal, you just have a mediocre physical activity level, or you're the lazy couch potato. Whey protein is really important, because we already talked about how important protein in itself is. Now imagine you have the most absorbable form, the most bioavailable form of it. That is the one, isolate whey. So if you're able to, grab some, you may not have it as much as, Gero, or a person that is going for Mr. Uganda championships is having, but you still need to have it, because if you also realize, even if you watch movies, you'll find that everyone these days makes sure they have a protein shake in the morning, a protein smoothie in the morning. Everyone is blending their things nowadays. It's not for nothing. It's because protein is a very important nutrient for vitality, for recuperating, because we're always working and using these parts of our bodies. So there has to be something that is protecting them, and that's what protein does. So if you can have, a form that is the best loved by your body, in this case, isolate whey, then you definitely go for it. Definitely go for it.
And absolutely. So someone was telling me that he thinks whey is unhealthy, but then taking lactose milk, which is powdery, taking needle, which is powdery, is now healthy and natural. So it was a little bit of a contradiction. So but because they didn't have a lot of information about whey, and I think
Yeah,
it's upon us to actually put this information out there so that people
true.
know the importance of consuming adequate protein, because as we
Exactly.
age, sarcopenia sets in, all loss of muscle mass. So if you're 50
Mm,
years and then you've lost almost all your muscle mass, then you're going to accelerate the aging quicker, because the more muscle you
mm.
have on yourself, the more lean you are, the healthier you are. And for it to become lean, to have more muscle, if you're a man, you
Yeah,
must you must take adequate protein. So if you're not taking protein now adequate, because I understand it's really tricky to get enough protein from our food. I
it
mean,
is.
to get at this stage, you can't
Not
get
just
enough.
protein, by the way. So many of our, foods nowadays are quite deficient. They're not the type that we used to have ages ago, the more authentic types. So there's a lot of factors that come into play.
So absolutely. So if you feel you're not consuming, and again, I need to set it clear, supplements do not replace food. Like the name says, they are supplements. So you still need to get much more of your essential nutrients from whole foods, like she said. But then in instances, on some
Mm.
days when feel you have not taken in the required amount or recommended dietary allowance of protein, then a whey shake or something, I think will quickly give you the amount of protein that you need. So
Yeah,
that's the reason we
that's
find
true.
most people are taking supplements, because you are unable to get the adequate from the foods we eat. And like she said, you can't get
That's why they
adequate.
were made, actually.
Absolutely, and you can't get adequate protein from plant-based, like she said, because their biological value is a little bit down. And if you're not comfortable, consuming a lot of meat out there, dairy would be good, but then dairy has a lot of carbohydrate, it has a lot of fat, and this is protein that has been gotten from milk. It has been filtered out. I mean, all the sugars have been removed, all the fat has been removed, and what you're remaining with is you're remaining with good protein that has a high biological value, that satiating, and it's going to help you build your lean muscle or help you keep lean. I've lost Amanda for a second. I think she's coming back. But hey, if you have any questions, please let me know. Still, we need to allay fears about these supplements. Some supplements are good, and again, some are bad. So before you start consuming a certain supplement, you actually need to.
I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I pressed something by mistake.
Yes, so I was saying that yes, supplements are good out there, but then these supplements, not every supplement on market is actually healthy for you. Yourself, you need to make sure that you do the adequate research, make sure that the supplement you're taking has been researched about. There's so many research papers on it and has been regarded as healthy for you. Like whey, stuff like creatine,
Yeah.
casein, a lot of research has been done on these supplements, and
Vitamin
no
D.
side effects. So basically, before you start consuming something, you need to read about it, make sure that there's a lot of literature about something that you're taking. That's the whole point. But what you are saying is, whether you take supplements or not, you need the adequate amount of these macronutrients. You need to be consuming the right carbs, the right fats, and the right protein. So there's something we haven't talked about and emphasizing: fats. As of late, everyone wants to reduce fat. Everyone wants to lose fat. And they think fat is actually not important to them. And they regret for having, gained all this fat. So, how should someone approach fat loss? Because they think eliminating all fat containing foods in their diet is the best way to go, but then they still need fat. So how do you advise such kind of a person who is on a weight loss journey, on a fat loss journey, and then
Mm.
they have all these fears
Biased.
about eating fat, and now which fat is healthy, which fat is unhealthy. So how do you help such kind of, a client?
Yeah, I know fat has been abused. I feel it has been mistreated, because everyone says fat is bad, fat is bad. And yet, fat is actually one of the essential nutrients for your body to function. Fat is what keeps us warm, helps regulate our body temperature. It actually protects very vital, organs inside our bodies. Fat and cholesterol, which people think is, terrible, actually help to make our body cells, nerve cells. So I mean, they are a constituent of almost, and so they're important. Fat is actually also another source of energy when you have not provided your body with carbohydrates, which is the primary source of energy. So fats are important. They are not a devil food. It's just that I think with the coming of maybe civilization and industrialization, we have really abused it and just overworked fat. So everything, because fat has that very acceptable flavor and aroma, it usually is your best bet as a manufacturer to attract clients and therefore making money. So it's a money making, nutrient or food constituent. And that's why people tend to put so much of it, that's so unnecessary in our bodies. However, there is healthy fat and the unhealthy fat. So we need to be looking out for that. Remember how we talked about, having your animal products, because there's excellent protein, there's excellent zinc, there's excellent iron in there. But then also there is saturated fat, which is the bad type of fat, and you need to be, keeping it at bay. So, just eating those animal products, yes, but on the low. So having more of your plant-based, but not forgetting to have your animal products is a very important, aspect of, weight loss. Another way for someone that is actually trying to lose weight is, have these proteins, but have them when they have been skinned, or for example, chicken. You have your chicken which has no skin, because there's so much fat, cholesterol actually embedded in there. So you're trying to lose weight, don't miss out on the good protein because you are so worried about fat. You might want to just maneuver through, you have your meat, just what do we call it? We make it lean by, removing the visible fat. Mm. Even you at home, you can do that very simply. You don't always need to go and buy a steak at the supermarket, which will be charged really expensively. You don't even know how long it has stayed in there and how fresh it is. You can actually just buy your fresh meat and then grab a knife and slowly start to, skin this, defat this meat. And you'll find that you've actually done a great deal in reducing the fat content of that. If you're using eggs, for example, you might want to have less of the yolk and do a lot more of the white, because there's a lot more to benefit from there. It's albumin than just having the egg yolk, which has a lot more cholesterol in there. So yes, fat might be a contributing factor for you gaining weight, but it's also important in keeping the balance. When it comes to having a balanced diet, you still need fat. And I think what every person on a weight loss journey should really be putting at the back of their minds is, it's not about the count on the weighing scale. It's important, it shows you progress, but what's important is, how are you feeling, on the inside? Are you starting to feel lighter? Are you starting to see a better glow on your skin? Are you not getting tired so quickly anymore? Can you walk a longer distance now without, sweating and feeling like you are in a boxing ring? It's really about how you feel on the inside. I think that's where health really starts from. And so this whole thing of, I want to see 10 kilograms in 2 weeks down on the scale is really misleading us, because we are straining our minds. There's a lot of stress on our minds that is actually stressing us emotionally. And so we are doing ridiculous things to attain health. And at the end of the day, when we think we are attaining health, we're actually sacrificing it, because you're putting the body in such a drastic program that, you know, it could, for example, start to sag. Yes, you've lost weight, but your skin is so saggy, you know, you've just not done it in the right way. So yes, we're looking out for weight loss and we want the kilos to go down. But even if you have a 2 kilogram loss in, say, 3 weeks or 2 months, that is better than where you were 2 months ago. And trust me, the body appreciates every single effort you put in. That's why I said, even with water, you know, don't bust yourself up because you cannot take 3 liters of water when you decide, I want to start drinking water. Start with 250 mils. Start with, 500 mils. The same thing for weight loss. Start with 1 kilogram in 2 weeks, you know. As long as there's progress and you are seeing that, you know, you actually, the main thing is your lifestyle should be starting to change, your attitude towards, you know, health and, you know, the things that actually keep us sane mentally, sane emotionally, and then also physically. That's what really matters, because if on the long term your lifestyle is supportive of health, trust me, you'll probably lose all the weight you wanted. Maybe you're 30 now, you'll probably lose all the weight you initially wanted to lose by the time you're 40. But guess what? You would have lost it at 40. And the body would definitely be, showing you the signs of, progress, the signs of, betterment generally in terms of your productivity and, you know, how you're using this food and utilizing it. You'll have better sleep, you know, you'll have better focus. You might keep so many diseases, far off, the dementias, you know, all these other illnesses that start to affect us when we are older, just because of a plan or a journey that you started probably 10 or 15 years ago. So I think we need to cut our bodies some slack and, look at the progress. So how far have we come? Have we registered some achievements, small or big? It doesn't matter as long as it's an achievement.
Oh, thanks so much. That was a whole of a free lecture that was not supposed to be free. But hey, it's free because you're amazing viewers. So I think that's pretty much about what we wanted to talk about. But also there's something I think these guys right here. So someone was telling
Oats.
me oats. What happens if you eat oats every day for 30 days? Including them in your diet. It can be a shake. You can blend them with other things, or you can. I know there are so many other ways of eating oats. So someone asked me this question today morning, and I think you addressing this would give them an insight. How healthy are oats, and how can someone consume them?
Okay. Oats are one of the very healthy alternatives we usually recommend when we are making diet plans for clients, because usually it's a whole food, so it has a lot of, even when you taste them, you can feel a bit of the huskiness in them. That means there's a lot of fiber in there. If you're having fiber, enough good fiber for 30 days, then you are going to stop having bloating probably in your stomach. You're going to stop feeling irritated. Your mood will be better because you're not feeling uncomfortable and like, oh my god, I need to go to the loo all the time. You'll not have food stuck up in there, so there's things that need to come out, but you either have constipation and it's just not coming out, or you feel it's stuck up there. So because oats have that really good fiber also, you're able to have good toilet rounds, 1 or 2 times a day without straining, without blood, without piles. And that's pretty important for gut health. But also oats have a lot of B vitamins, because just like most cereals that are not very processed. So if you're having B vitamins, your energy production in the body is really top notch, because these B vitamins really help us to, get the most out of the carb foods that we actually eat. So you're able to process them or metabolize them in your body system to actually generate the energy that you need. So if you're having oats every day for 30 days, here is the disadvantage, unfortunately, that if you're having one food every single day, then you're not allowing another food to come into play at that point. So if you're having oats for breakfast every day, that means tomorrow, when you could have had maybe maybe when you could have had yogurt with some fruits and nuts in it, you have lost that chance because you are eating oats every day. So it might affect your diet diversity, but also at the end of the day, it's way better because you will have food moving through your system. You'll have better toilet rounds. You'll not have constipation. You'll lose weight if that's what you were aiming for. So coupled with other weight loss foods, this will really help you lose weight. You will also be shedding out, any excess gas that may be making you uncomfortable. And then you'll also be feeding the healthy gut bacteria that is honestly the fundamental of stomach health. So yeah, that's oats for you.
Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, we could go all the way for over 3 hours. I've actually realized we've been here for over an hour, so it's just fast spent. But again, since we are all into wellness, we could spend the entire day, talking about
That's true.
this. However, there's something
And
I
you're
want
such an awesome host.
And as we wind up, there's something I want you to go and think about. I come from the medical world, and there is a high prevalence of gastrointestinal cancers that we are facing, especially here in Western Uganda. We have so many cancers, intestinal cancers. We don't know if this is related to food we are eating of late. We don't know, but as a nutritionist, as a wellness coach, it's something you need to go and think about because it's overwhelming. Patients are suffering from these cancers everywhere. So yes,
you say in Western Uganda, it's more prevalent in Western Uganda. Interesting.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. It's just worse here. We're thinking a lot of aflatoxins. Is it related to the foods we are consuming and all that? So it's something I think we should give a thought. And then lastly, what are your parting shots?
Well, I would really just love to thank you so much for hosting me, Gero. I got to know you, I think, a year ago, and I have not regretted that because we share a vision, we share a passion, just to see healthier people and live free, really, have actual freedom, even within yourselves. Don't be prisoner of your own body. So I'm really appreciative for you and the work that you do. Thank you so much for, pushing on and just serving the world. Then for the audience, thank you so much for just tuning in and also being very enthusiastic about what's good for you. That is health at the end of the day, which brings wealth for us. So I'm so glad that you were able to tune in and just join us and ask your questions and just chill with us here. Also, if you would like to, connect with me, just like Gero does, I'm big on, health content, formulating health messages, because I believe that is really where we get to solve our health issues. It's no longer about, just having this doctor-patient kind of relationship. It's about what are the actual things happening in the community, and how can we get closer to them, how can they come closer to us, and how can we understand each other, with a universal language, not these really hard terms that we see so many people using that have left our people lost. So I would really just, love for you to also join me on my other social media platforms. I do have a nutrition show that you can catch both on TV if you're in Uganda, on Magic One TV every Sunday at 6 p.m. So you can catch me there. It's called Your Take Show, where you actually ask your questions and then I give you my take on, what a possible way forward is. Then also on Instagram, my handle is Food Witness. On YouTube, like you can see the name right under me, it's the same as that, Amanda Twebaze Nutritionist. On Facebook, I do have a very vibrant page, people that are equally wellness loving, just like the people I have gotten to meet here. I hope Makazi is around today because he's such a great person as well. Anyway, on Facebook, the Facebook page name is Amanda Nutritionist as well. I also write blogs because, I mean, if we're not having fun with this thing, I like how Geros does it. You'll see statuses that would just make you laugh. You'll say, but he's at the end of the day, you're learning a lesson. You're learning something about how best to do a particular workout. What's good for you in terms of how you are probably treating your back, or just general lifestyle things. So if you're not having fun with it, then it's not worth it. And that's why I also do write food blogs, just real personal life experiences on food. My food blog is amandatwebaze.blogspot.com. So that's about it. I guess I'll see you next time. Please host me again, Geros, because I'm starting to feel more like home on your channel.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's from, and as always, I'll put all the links to her pages in the description so that whoever is coming to watch this live later can actually go and follow you on all your platforms. And as always, I'm just looking forward to hosting you again as usual. So many topics out there to talk about. And for today, I want to thank you beyond measure for this. And as always, see you in the next one. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.